current member of the Intelligence Committee, Democratic Congressman André Carson. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Wolf.
So based on the briefings you've received on the House Intelligence Committee, do you believe the CIA, in its conclusion that Russia not only wanted to erode trust in the entire democratic process here in the United States, but was actually working to try to get Donald Trump elected president?
Well, my personal opinion is that I trust what we've been hearing from news outlets, that in fact there was an honest attempt, or an attempt, pardon me, by Moscow to disrupt our electoral process. And to me, it's unacceptable. It brings into question, where do we go from here? And it could be us reverting back to a system that is non-electronic as it relates to our local and federally elected positions.
Why would
elections.
Why do you believe Russian hackers potentially could sit on stolen information from Republican targets, whether members of Congress, Republican pundits, an RNC vendor, and not release that information, as opposed to releasing information that was embarrassing to the Democrats and Hillary Clinton's campaign?
Well, I think we're still gathering additional information as we speak. I think that the Senate Intelligence Committee, the House Intelligence Committee, we will certainly have hearings related to unearthing these matters going forward, as well as working with House and Senate leaders in terms of pressing the issue to get to the root causes. But it seems as if Mr. Trump's language, his overtures to Russia, could have been a motivating factor. That is not to say that Mr. Trump gave a directive or was in concert with the Russian government, but it is to suggest that his favorable comments throughout the campaign opened the door for the Russian government to feel as if they have an ally in the White House, and that is very troubling for our national security.
I want you to stand by, Congressman. We're getting some breaking news coming into the Situation Room, but we got to take a quick break. We'll resume this conversation, share the new information we're getting right after this. The breaking news we're getting in, two transition sources, Trump transition sources, now confirming to CNN that the president-elect will delay his scheduled news conference on his business plans. The news conference had been scheduled for this Thursday. The sources now tell CNN the president-elect will make the announcement on how he's splitting up his business to avoid any potential conflicts of interest as much as possible, handing over the business to his adult children. That news conference, the sources say, will now take place in January. We're getting more information on this. We're back with the House Intelligence Committee member André Carson. Are you satisfied that he will be able to make sure that his adult children, his two sons in particular, some others, run the business so that he avoids any potential conflict of interest as president of the United States?
Well, Mr. Trump's decision to choose whomever he wishes to run his organizations is a personal one. I just want to make sure that we don't have the appearance of impropriety or any impropriety as it relates to our commander-in-chief being focused on the issues of the day. The job of president is very demanding, and it requires that that president be freed of any personal business obligation to focus on the American people and focused on our presence in the world and moving our country forward.
As you know, the president-elect is rejecting the CIA's concern, the Intelligence Committee's concern about Russia's involvement. He's concerned that all of these stories, all these reports are politically motivated to raise questions about his legitimacy as the elected president of the United States. What's your response to that?
Well, I think the men and women who work hard each and every day throughout our 17 intelligence agencies do a great job. I think it's important to note that we cannot minimize their great work, nor can we recklessly accuse this of being a false flag operation. I think it's irresponsible and it's unbecoming of a commander-in-chief. And my hope is that Mr. Trump will walk back his language going forward, because I think these times are ever critical, Wolf, and it's time for us to take these assessments quite seriously, because we are the greatest nation in recorded history, and that does not come without its enemies.
How do you respond to that tweet that the Trump campaign released over these past few days, saying, look, the U.S. intelligence community got it way wrong. as far as Saddam Hussein's stockpiles of weapons of mass destruction, and they might be getting. And so, don't believe everything you hear from the U.S. intelligence community. You're a member of the Intelligence Committee. What's your response?
Well, it's obvious that intelligence is not perfect. We're always making corrections. The intelligence community is always coming with additional information from different sources, and so it's not fail-proof. But at the same time, he cannot cite the situation that happened with Saddam Hussein in Iraq and compare it to this one. I think what is most important is that he has the microphone, he has the largest stage in the world, and to talk recklessly because he's still speaking to his group of supporters. He's styling himself as being someone who's anti-establishment. He's styling himself as someone who is a bit of a maverick, and that fits into his narrative.
I want you to listen, Congressman, to what the president-elect said yesterday about the daily presidential intelligence briefings that he's been getting maybe once a week. The vice president-elect gets them every day. He gets them maybe once a week. Listen to what he said.
These are very good people that are giving me the briefings. And I say, if something should change from this point, immediately call me. I'm available on 1 minute's notice. I don't have to be told, I'm like a smart person. I don't have to be told the same thing and the same words every single day for the next 8 years. Could be 8 years, but 8 years. I don't need that.
You think that's an appropriate attitude for the incoming commander-in-chief?
I think about the words my grandmother told me. I think about Lee Hamilton, one of our state's dignitaries and statesmen who sat on the Foreign Affairs Committee. I think about Congressman Andy Jacobs, who gave me the advice to master the briefing. Master the briefing. Master the briefing. It's about showing up, putting yourself into the work, understanding the different policy issues, and it may sound redundant, but if you're there for practice each and every day, understanding these issues, it will help hone your instincts. It will put you in tune with the hard work and the sacrifices that these men and women are making in our intelligence community each and every day, and you may miss something if you simply dismiss the intelligence briefing. There's so much going on in our world each and every day that requires a commander-in-chief to be briefed by the FBI and the CIA on a daily basis, and to be as dismissive as he has been troubles me because this is not a business. This is the United States of America.
10 members of the Electoral College, they're asking for a full intelligence briefing on Russia's role in the election before they make it official. They do their vote next week for the Electoral College. Today, John Podesta, who was the Clinton campaign chairman, he came out in support of that effort that these members of the Electoral College should have a full-scale briefing. You really think that's a good idea?
I think it's important that the members of the Electoral College are briefed to the degree that it would bring calm to their minds. I don't think that a top secret level security briefing is necessary, but I think that perhaps a briefing is not out of the question to the degree that it would calm their concerns. I think going back to the founding fathers wanting to establish the Electoral College, which is very complicated, that's another conversation, but at least in wanting to prevent a buffer, in fact, from having the influence of a foreign nation interfere with our elections. And so here we are right now with members of the Electoral College being deeply concerned about the results and the fact that there could have been external influences, i.e. Russia. I don't think it's out of the question to have some kind of briefing. The level of the briefing concerns me, but to have a general briefing, I think it's acceptable.
But you really think it's realistic, it's credible at all that the Electoral College, when they meet next week, won't make it official and elect Donald Trump as the next president of the United States?
Well, Wolf, based on the numbers that you see each and every day, the numbers you see more than I do, I think you could best answer that more than I can.
Well, he clearly has a lot more Electoral College votes than Hillary Clinton has, and
Sure.
that should make it official. All right, I just want to wrap it up with one final question, Congressman. I know you got to run before I let you go. Even as Donald Trump is questioning Russia's involvement in the hacking of the DNC, the Clinton campaign, he's also now seriously considering Exxon CEO Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State. That announcement could come as early as this week. How concerned are you, if you are, about Tillerson's work over the years in Russia and his personal relationship with Vladimir Putin?
Well, he certainly doesn't have a background as a diplomat. I'm concerned that anyone who is representing our nation as a global ambassador of sorts will have to be deeply entrenched in the issues of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, issues with Syria, Russia, the Ukraine, South China Sea, and other parts of our globe, just to name a few. But to have someone who is alleged to have ties to the Russian government, given Mr. Trump's rhetoric, given the evidence that has been unearthed by the CIA as it relates to hacking, troubles me even more so. And I think we have to take a greater look beyond the political pageantry that's taking place, beyond the narrative of Mr. Trump being this maverick of sorts, going against traditional politics. We have to look at the future of our country. And going forward, we cannot take this electoral college process lightly, and we cannot take our electoral process lightly. And we have to really decide the fate of our country, whether you're Republican or Democrat, Independent, Libertarian. We have to really talk about these issues and not allow elections to be based on our emotional response, but really look at the candidates deeply and look at their background and experience and see who we really want to lead our nation going forward.
Congressman André Carson of the Intelligence Committee, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.